series honoring our military today as we approach Sunday's 100th anniversary of the end of World War I.
Millions of Americans were called upon to join that war effort, and their legacy of service lives on in some of today's cadets at the U.S. Military Academy. NBC's Harry Smith is here with some of their stories. Hi, Harry.
It's 100 years since the war to end all wars, the 11th hour, the 11th month of the 11th, 11th, okay, you got it. Anyway,
we get you.
There are places in the world where Armistice Day is really remembered. It's Veterans Day now. You notice the poppy. There's places in America, not so far from here, where they really remember it every day. On a bluff above the Hudson River stands West Point. From these halls and from these grounds come the men and women who serve as officers in the U.S. Army. Their motto, duty, honor, country.
West Point has been providing leaders of character for the nation in the crucible of ground combat that goes back to the War of 1812. And as Americans, that's who we are, because when the nation needs us, we're going to be there.
Colonel Ty Sedgwill is the head of the history department here. America was late to join the fight in World War I, but in a matter of months, an army of more than 4 million men was mustered, and they didn't have equipment.
They ran out of everything, so they needed our West Point officers and our leadership skills to help man that army and lead that army.
2 million U.S. troops were sent to fight in France. More than 100,000 were killed in what was called the War to End All Wars. Perhaps we shouldn't be surprised that descendants of those who served a century ago are at West Point now. They have Army in their DNA. Attention. We spoke with cadets Sydney Dawson, her little brother Joe, Benjamin Bullock, and Judson Booker.
I know my dad's side, his grandpa, and he was there from 1918 through Armistice, and he actually got wounded and gassed in the Battle of Argonne Forest.
My great-great-grandfather ended up as Major General Amos Fries, was a West Point grad, class of 1898, I believe.
My ancestors generally, they fought in all of the nation's wars. I know that I have one on my paternal side, Captain Joseph Bullock. And then on my maternal side, I have several ancestors who served on the enlisted side.
Changes in anything besides prices.
The cadets are here to get a great education, to be among the best of the best. They also know that could come at some cost.
To get something as great as this place, you have to take a risk. To get this place, you have to give something, and giving that risk is part of it, so.
Right. Feel like a square deal to you?
Yes, sir.
Seems far away, but it's still a very real possibility. I mean, there's really no better evidence than in this room right here, where you can see all of the graduates who gave their lives in the line of duty from all the way back to the War of 1812 to today. What's going to happen is going to happen. If you let fear take over, you're never going to do anything. Possibility of getting injured or killed in the line of duty, it's a possibility. I'll accept it because it needs to be done. Somebody needs to do it.
To be at West Point is to walk in the footsteps of giants and to believe that one day you may be among them.
Are you proud to be here?
Of course I'm proud to be here. I worked my butt off to get here. Just to know that I'm part of here and that I actually leave my mark on this place. That's what makes me proud to be here.
I think so, yes. You hear about all these big names that came here, right? Eisenhower, MacArthur, and you're it's a little bit overwhelming. You're how can I ever live up to that? Then you look at a picture of one of your close ancestors, and they look like you, they look your age, they look like they might be feeling what you're feeling, and you feel like it might be a little bit more possible to do what's expected of you.
Man, the square deal is you serve 5 years after you graduate from West Point. One of the really interesting things about World War I, of those 4 million that came into the Army back then, 40% were either immigrants or children of immigrants. Those were the people. There were more than 100 languages spoken in the U.S. Army. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a special place, West Point. Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
You can't go in there and not get goosebumps.
So much history.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Harry, thank you.
Always a pleasure.